as you were talking about, like talking to one of the Afghan soldiers that you knew, and how he, hey, we're going to stay here, we're going to fight, they'll never take us. Do you remember all that stuff that happened up in Portland when the Antifa took over the part of the neighborhood, or whatever they were calling it? I think it was originally called CHOP, and then they changed it to Chaz, but it was the occupied zone or something like this. But somebody was asking me about it, and I kind of said, hey, there's no one up there in the CHOP that's like ready to die for the cause, that's ready to say, you know what, we're going to stay here. They're just not up there. There's no, America, and I kind of made the comment that, hey, even the people that are Antifa members, guess what? They have cell phones, and they have, they have clothing, and they have running water, and it's just not that bad of a thing. And they're not that committed to it. And it's interesting when you think about what it really takes for someone to stand up and be willing to sacrifice themselves for a cause, whatever that cause is. And when you look at the Taliban, and you're this Afghan person that's been fighting for however many years, and you've been fighting for the Americans, you've been fighting for the Afghan government for 10 years or 7 years. And then you're like, well, it looks like we're completely surrounded. If I fight, I'm going to die, or I can just kind of put down my weapon, take off my uniform, and carry on with my life.
And I think it was sort of the next day, Joe Biden came out and said, these guys ran away from their posts and things. And to a degree, I understand where that came from. But it upset me because they were really sold out by their leadership. And I'll give you examples. So Safi, the guy that I'd met that Friday, when I was finally able to get back in contact with him after Mazar had fallen, and I asked him, are you okay? Where are you? And he said, he'd gone out that day, and they were so outnumbered, and his 3 bodyguards had been killed, and it was really the commandos that were trying to hold it. And he said by 4:00 that afternoon, somebody came to him and said, Dostum left, and so did the commando left, like all your commanders left, and it's up to you if you want to stay and die or you can leave. And they were sold out by everybody.
I did hear stories from guys that I knew that said that the Taliban would like approach a village and just send a messenger in there and be like, hey, here's your chance. We know you were Afghan security. You can put down your guns and be cool, or we're going to kill everyone. And guys were like, okay, we're surrounded. We're going to die. I guess we'll just go back to the way it used to be, by the way. That's the other thing. It was, they have sort of, a lot of them had memory of what it used to be like. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we're going back to the way it used to be. But it's better to do that and be alive than be dead.
And the amount of sacrifices that a lot of those Afghan soldiers made. They won't even release the number of killed, but it's well past 100,000.
Yeah, there was at least 50,000 killed going into this whole thing taking place. Yeah. So it's not like, and again, there's plenty of Americans that fought alongside the Afghans and had met awesome Afghan troops, just like in Iraq. There was, and by the time you were in Iraq and the Iraqis were fighting ISIS, they were taking massive casualties going to take Mosul back. That was led by the Iraqi forces, and they took massive casualties and they kept going. Compared to in the Battle of Ramadi, the Iraqi forces some of them were very scared and didn't want to take lead and definitely didn't want to take casualties. And we had whole battalions abandon and leave. So that idea of this kind of clear-cut American version of the way things are doesn't apply here. No. There's no clear-cut way of, hey, if you're an American, you get captured, we know what's going to happen. You're going to get tortured. You're going to get killed. It's like, hey, you're an Afghan security force and you surrender. You're not sure what's going to happen, but you know what's going to happen if you don't surrender. You're going to die. So, and then you see your leadership
all running away, all of them. And every single one of them ran away, including the president. Yeah. Including the president, who,
with that guy, that is an insane situation. You have that guy, Ashraf Ghani, who who is like a professor at Berkeley, a professor at Johns Hopkins, went to some leadership school at Harvard, wrote the book called Fixing Failed States, which is like an academic exploration of this stuff, theoretical. It's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And he bailed with a bunch of money, by the way.
And yeah, a bunch of money is now under investigation. But what I remember going back in being in Afghanistan in 2017 and sort of hearing when I'd go to the NATO compound of the US embassy, and everyone would say all these great things about Ghani. And I remember saying to a few people, have you gone out to the street just to talk to the Afghan people? Because they have a different idea, you know? So I think part of that problem was the US, because nobody was leaving that base in the diplomacy world, they were getting a vacuum of information that was pre-approved people to enter, that were all part of this sort of puppetry stream, and they weren't actually out there talking to the Afghans, who were terribly frustrated with the corruption going on, terribly frustrated with the sort of, I guess, the Pashtun and the sectarianism and things. And it just, the picture that was so warped compared to the reality that I saw even back then.